welcome back to another video. Today's video is the monthly book roundup, which is where I talk you through all the books that I read in the past month. So the first book is One of Us is Lying. All of the reviews were kind of mixed, so some people really liked it, some people really didn't, but I liked it. I mean, it was predictable, kind of. Maybe I should tell you what this book is about first. It is about one kid who was murdered, kid who was murdered during detention, and sort of the other 4 kids who are in detention with him are all suspects. And all of them sort of supposedly have reasons to not want him to be alive. It's sort of a murder mystery and high school sort of book at the same time, so it's kind of, I don't know, it's an interesting mix that I'd never read before. And essentially the kids who are the suspects, kind of, they're the ones who figure out who did it and what happened and all of the story behind it. I actually really liked it. I would say I gave it 4 stars because I thought it was compelling. I know, even though a lot of the things were sort of cliche, you know, the whole high school thing and all of the social groups and things like that, but at the same time I also thought it was kind of fresh and different in some other aspects, and I don't know, I really liked it. Next we have this one, which is called How I Live Now, and this book I really liked. I cried a bunch of times. It was a really beautiful and strong read. But the only thing that I would say is that the way they sort of advertised it and the way they sort of sold it was to the wrong demographic, I think. This girl, Daisy, who lives in America with her dad and her stepmom, who decide to ship her off to England to live with her aunts and cousins. And basically her aunt isn't really at home all the time, or she works a lot or something, and they spend a lot of time together. Her and one of her cousins fall in love and they have a relationship, and that's sort of why a lot of people didn't like this book, is because they thought it was about, 2 cousins being together, but that's not what the book is about at all. It's just one part of the story. This book is actually about a war. So while Daisy is in England, sort of a war breaks out where England is invaded by the invaders, and it's always very vague. You don't even know their last names, you don't know who the war is against. There's just not a lot of detail because it's not important. The true juice of this book is the lengths that somebody will go to survive, and how the people you care about, how protective you are of them in a situation like this, and how maybe being in love with someone and how caring about people makes you want to keep going in situations that are awful. Yeah, I don't know, it's just really powerful, and Daisy sort of is somebody at the beginning who you think she's probably wouldn't fend very well for herself, and even she says about herself that she doesn't think that she has anything to add to the whole her community and things, and to their little group. She feels like she doesn't have anything to add to them, that she's just there. And it turns out that that's not true, and she sort of discovers that something about her, and then it's very powerful. Next I read this book, which is called Skipping Christmas, and this was turned into a movie, I think. So the idea is that this couple, who their daughter goes off to Peru or Chile, I'm not sure which country, but she goes off to South America on a humanitarian mission for a year, and she leaves just about a month before Christmas, and they're going to be spending Christmas alone for the first time since probably she was born and stuff. And they basically decide, especially the dad, he really wants to skip Christmas because he thinks that it's such a waste of time and money, and you spend so much money on things that you don't even need. They decide to, instead of celebrate Christmas, they decide to spend that money on a cruise for the 2 of them, and to just leave on Christmas Day and go on a cruise and enjoy themselves, which I think is such a cool premise, and I think it's such a cool idea, how they fought the stereotypes and how they are going against the grain and doing their own thing, and I think that was great. But I really didn't like the direction that this book took towards the end. It took ages for them to even decide to skip Christmas, and then to for her to be convinced, and then all of the sort of backlash that they received from their like community and their friends and stuff, which I thought was so interesting and like could be explored in a way like, and I think this book should have ended with them actually skipping Christmas. And spoiler alert, that's not what happens. Their daughter decides to come back early and they just rally together like their neighbors and they celebrate Christmas together. And it's like, yeah, that's nice that their neighbors did that, but this was just really underwhelming and I really don't recommend. If you want to like know the story, probably watch the movie because it'll take less time. Next up, I read this book, which is called Extravaganza City of Masks. And this is the first book in the series, which I think is really, really long from what I've gathered. And this was like I enjoyed reading it and I had like, it was enjoyable to read. It's this kid who's sick, has cancer. Through some, you know, things, for a reason, like a specific reason, he finds himself in another world. And it's in this place which is sort of like Venice, but it's sort of an alternate reality. So he's in the present and this is like in the 1600s or something. Yeah, so he goes back to this place and he makes a ton of friends there and adventures and things. And yeah, then there's bad guys and then they have to sort of stop them and all this kind of stuff, which is, it was fine. A positive thing about the way it ended is that it does leave sort of an open door for like the next book. But I'm not sure I'm going to invest in buying all of the other books and like reading them. I might still get the second one and read it and see if I want to keep going with the series or not. But I mean, it was an enjoyable read, like 3 stars probably. It was okay. Then I read this book, which is called The Mitford Murders by Jessica Fellows. I didn't say the other people's names, but anyway. First of all, a really beautiful book. I really, really liked this one. It is set in the 1920s. Yeah, like early 1920s, so like 1919. And this is actually based on real things, like real people and real murder that occurred. The one thing I will say about this book is that the title is kind of misleading because when it says the Mitford murders, you assume, like, or I assumed that one of the Mitfords was going to be murdered, and it's not the case. Yeah, somebody dies, gets murdered on a train, and then the Mitford sisters and their nanny person are interested in solving, like start sort of getting really dragged into it and like want to solve the case. And they help the police solve the case, basically. It's a very good book. It's, you know, suspenseful, it's interesting, it's, I liked all the characters because there's like some really lovable characters. There's some other like things that, you know, stories that come into play in, you know, in between. And there's just like, I don't know, it's very good. I thought it was very good. And I think it's also a series. So yeah, it's going to be a mystery series and it is based on the real lives of the Mitford sisters who, you know, there's 6 of them, I'm pretty sure. And the last book that I finished reading was Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I am obviously reading the series. I've been reading like 1 a month for the last few months. And yeah, I like this. I love Harry Potter, and this is actually a really one of my favorite books, I think. I like all of them, but I really like this one because there's a lot of like funny things that happen. I love Ron's little interactions, and it's sort of when things start to go downhill. And I like that every time that I reread the series, I notice new things, and I notice like new little hints to things that I know what are going to happen because obviously I know what's going to happen, but I like that I can still sort of like find new things in there. Okay, so that's all of the books that I finished, and I did start reading this one, which is called The Wicked Deep. I am enjoying it so far. It's very atmospheric and it's very sort of appropriate for this time of year. The story is that 2 centuries ago in this town where, you know, the main character lives, 3 sisters were drowned as a punishment for being witches. And then every year after that, during June, they sort of start singing from the sea, and they lure 3 girls into the sea, take their bodies, use their bodies to then lure boys into the ocean and kill them. So there's always like a bunch of people who die every year, and it's kind of like creepy and stuff. And in present day, it's actually like a tourist attraction, and it's kind of morbid and weird. So very atmospheric, like I said. So far I'm enjoying it. That is everything for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to leave it a like and consider commenting and subscribing to my channel, because it would mean so much to me. Have you read any of these? And if so, what did you think? And if you haven't read any of these, are you wanting to or interested in or anything like that? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!